Friends, welcome. It's been a long time. This is the session, as they say in Scientology. 2 months of no live streams, thanks to being booted off YouTube. This is the new channel, my friends. And to start off the first live stream on the new channel, I'm lucky enough to have, when I say a special guest, I really mean that because this guy, Marcus Sawyer, who has blinded himself from the microphone. Can you come out from the microphone, young man? We cannot see you. He's preparing, by the way. You guys are in for a treat because we're going to start this off with a song called Going Clear. But first off, let me just say it's really good to be back. Hello to everybody in the chat. I've missed all of you. And Marcus is reached out to me, 3 years ago, bro, when I started the YouTube channel. Left the
whenever you started,
yeah, which was June 2020. And he left a comment on my community tab. And he's a blast from the past because he used to work at the mission, which we're going to talk about today, the Ventura mission, as well as the Melrose mission, and knows very well the Steiners, who we've talked about a lot in the series. And if you don't know what we're talking about, we're going to get into it. But first off, this man has been very instrumental behind the scenes in undoing the Scientology trauma, which I thought was kind of undid a lot. And then I got on YouTube and found out there's a lot sitting there. And then after Marcus reached out to me on the community tab, we've become really good friends. And not only he gave me a lot of intel on my parents and what the mission staff was doing behind the scenes, because he worked at the mission staff, and minus that, I would be in the dark about a lot of things. And not only that, he's just been an incredible friend. I don't trust very many people in the X community, to be honest with you. This is one of the few people that I do. So I just wanted to say we do have a very special guest. And thanks for coming on, brother. All right, man. Hey, guys, check this out. So to start out, he will be performing an exclusive song only here on the Days But Not Confused channel. This is called Going Clear, and you'll be able to follow along with the lyrics. And Marcus, you will now be on full screen to perform Going Clear. Hit it.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, this is the first time I performed it. I was going to perform it in Clearwater back in 2017, but didn't really feel like it was the right venue. So, and what the song wasn't done, but here we go. In its primordial form. Oh, I got to turn this up. There we go. Your desperate, degraded, ego-inflated mind, looking for something to eat up your money and time. Well, maybe you can't keep your head up without your spine. Well, make a decision. We'll give you some pockets to mine. And I can't say what keeps us here. I can't say why I'm still here. No, I won't say what keeps us here. Crippling fear. What do I believe? What am I supposed to believe? Nothing but time. But nothing comes to mind. But one day, someday, it'll all be clear. Well, being together is better than saying goodbye. Just look at the people walking around outside. No good to you if I can't see with my own two eyes. Walking in circles, the blind leading the blind. And I can't say what keeps us here. No, I'm not allowed to say What keeps us here? Oh, I won't say what keeps us here. Crippling fear. Well, what do I believe? What am I supposed to believe? Nothing but time. But nothing comes to my mind. And one day, yes, someday, it'll all be clear. Well, what is true? What's true for you? And what is real? Did you forget how to feel? Do you need to eat? Beg, borrow, and steal? Well, none of this matters. None of this matters. Your life is in tatters. You're bled like a pig in reality shattered. I can't say what keeps us here. No, I won't say why I'm still here. No, we can't say why we're still here. Crippling fear. Well, what do I believe? And what am I supposed to believe? Got nothing but time. But nothing comes to my mind. And one day, someday, it'll all be clear.
That wasn't depressing or anything. Every time I hear that, man, he just played that to me a couple nights ago, and I was just like, Jesus, that pretty much sums up Scientology, bro. Beautiful, man. Thank you so much for sharing that.
No problem. Totally fucked it up, but sorry.
No, dude, those lyrics are fucking amazing. I need a moment because I am restimulated, as they say in Scientology. So, Marcus, for those who don't know you, I just want to say something, guys, real quick, that the only 3 videos that I didn't download in time to be able to put up, I'm re-uploading everything on the new channel, as you guys know that are following along. The only 3 videos that I happen to not download were the best fucking ones with this guy. And we went into fantastic detail about his story, which I don't want to make him relive in full. And then we also broke down post-cult transformations. This guy has a lot of knowledge about how he healed himself that other people can use. So, Marcus, we don't have to rehash the ones that we already did. But for the new listeners, could you please give a brief background on kind of your upbringing, which I think we're going to get into a little bit too, and how that possibly led into Scientology?
Yeah, sure. Can you hear me okay?
Mm-hmm. Loud and clear, brother.
So it's there's a lot of parallels with abusive behavior, cultures, domestic violence. I'll say that there's a lot of parallels with domestic violence and the kind of things that you're subjected to on a daily basis from your fellow staff members and seniors. There's a structure there. There's a hierarchical structure where in a pecking order where there's just people you don't fuck with, and you have to fall in line and know your place and stuff like that. So in a domestic violence or a domestically complicated dysfunctional family, whatever you want to call it, type situation, there is the same thing. There's a hierarchy, there's a pecking order, there's things people you do not fuck with lest you make your own ruin. So in my early childhood, I had a lot of adverse childhood experiences, what they call them in psychology. So the transition from Scientology, from that into Scientology, believe it or not, was actually a positive one, because I felt I was actually being listened to and heard and treated fairly. At least in that structure, if I did something that was like upstat, then I was at least acknowledged for it. Whereas in my, family life, like there is no, it supersedes Hubbard's expectations. And this is just my personal experience as a son to my stepfather. There is absolutely nothing that you can do that is good enough. And that's similar to Hubbard, but Hubbard gives you a formula. He's like, you can, if you apply this, you can. But in my youth and everything, like and all the way up into adulthood, even still, like with my brothers, all my siblings, there is no upstat ever. The only person that is upstat is the top of the pyramid, which would be my stepfather. So going into Scientology was actually a very positive thing. It felt comfortable. It felt safer. It felt like I had protection in the group, power in numbers. It felt like they were helping me with problems that I was having. And it sounds like a fucking infomercial for Scientology if you've been a domestic violence victim, but that is definitely not what I'm saying. They're both equally toxic and abusive, and people should uh, be very compassionate towards those that are stuck in those types of situations, and not just sort of like. I mean, you wouldn't do this to a domestic violence victim. It'd be victimizing someone who's already a victim, where you watch a video about, well, my husband beat me half to death and tried to murder my child. People generally, I don't think, watch videos on YouTube like that, um, just as sort of like rubbernecking, or maybe they do, but at a certain point, the subject that's speaking, uh, if you don't have any compassion for them, you can watch them go crazy. Game streamers have done it. Game streamers have suffered so much mental stress from the audience capture and the pressure to continue making the content that they've blown their brains out, took bottle full of pills. So that's something that viewers, I think, in general, of this type of content should really fucking consider. uh, Audience capture is a term that is used, meaning that when you start posting on a particular topic and it starts, trending, and it's a trendy topic, then that creator is now like getting a dopamine hit, similar to what viewers get when the content that they want is consistently delivered to them. And so it creates this fucking endless cycle loop thing. And the creator themselves, though, are really at risk, because they're generally the ones that are talking about the situations that are unthinkable, and traumatic. So like reliving this stuff over and over and rehashing it over and over, and people asking the same fucking questions over and over again. And also the people who are like, well, I'd never be in Scientology. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard of. You couldn't trick me into that little stupid mind game. I'm sorry to inform every type of person that would say that I very well and easily could have completely transformed and ruined your life. So that's the parallel. That's my long-winded answer to your short question, which is
That's
good
a
because it's time
great
filler.
fucking answer, bro. Because I'm glad that you brought that up. I was just thinking of you were on YouTube what, in 2016, Marcus? You know
2015.
2015, and you did a video.
Leah Remini's
Which,
show started in 2016. I was publishing in May of 2015.
what was that like when you first started speaking out?
Scary as fucking hell.
What motivated you to do it?
I realized when certain events happen, like a big event in your life, there's sometimes a need for a sea change.
Mhm.
Like you feel like, wow, okay, I've got to change something about myself or my life. And in this case, it was my divorce, and my wife leaving with our two minor children and not knowing where they were. And that first video there that you're showing, Scientology, after 10 years, I'm finally out. My
Yeah,
wife
that
and
was
I
a
had
powerful video, by the way, bro.
Very long, 2.5 hour long video. I
but
go
your
through.
blood and sweat and tears are in this video. I highly recommend guys check. First of all, please, Goldie will drop links and everything. His channel is completely shadow banned. Just try typing in Theta or in Theta Marcus Sawyer or in Theta Scientology. It won't come up.
I don't know if that's
So
a thing, but
no,
whatever.
I think it really is a thing because it's unusual with your channel. But guys, please check out this video right here if you want to know more his whole story.
And I had to talk to Tony Ortega about doing some publishing. Chris and I were in
Mm-hmm.
contact on the ex-Scientology message board,
Mm-hmm.
and he was coming out around the same time I was, but he was still in though. He was coming out while he was in, which was an interesting thing because he was essentially he already realized he was going to leave. And he was providing basically intelligence and information that only someone on the inside could get. He went by the name of Galactic Patrol, and I went by the name of Esto. So if
Esto, that's funny.
So Esto and Galactic Patrol were on Tony's radar, and Tony responded to some emails, but I guess he was busy. He was also kind of short and a little rude after I posted my first video. It's like, well, I thought I was going to break that story or whatever. And I'm like, well, look, dude, I contacted you and you fucking blew me off for 2-3 months. I've got to get this out. Mm-hmm. You're right. My blood, sweat, and tears are in that video. Like you can visibly see I'm fucked up. And for the all of the chronicles in 2015, they're listed on the channel as chronicles. So, cause like there were periods where I was publishing and periods where I went silent. Mm-hmm. So, and part of that was for different reasons. The first one, 2015 Chronicles, I stopped publishing because my attorney said, stop publishing. So
can I ask you one quick question on that? Why did your attorney jump in there and say that?
Well, it was just my ex-wife's attorney was levying 27 allegations against me, including, beating and domestic abuse, beating and raping her, and beating and raping my 1- and 3-year-old child.
Sorry, dude. You had to go.
And I was a drug dealer. I never made any money. And
sounds like Scientology.
Yeah, it does. It was like it seemed like fair game, but like, and just to add more mystery to this shit, like before I decided to finally leave and finish my doubt condition, I asked her, look, I'm about to make this. To me, it was a big change because you understand as an ex-Scientologist, so that's a big change. You're changing. It's like your neuroplasticity is going to go nuts. You have all this synaptic growth and overgrowth that you need to prune, and it can take years. And so she's like, well, maybe you ought to go and talk to Dominic over in Baton Rouge. And I had been given an option to go do a committee of evidence, which is like a Nazi tribunal Scientology court thing, where you don't have any ability to defend yourself at all. Really, they just say, these are your crimes, and here's your punishment. And then you're in good standing again. So, and I was just done with writing up all of these nonsense overts that they wanted to keep in my file. You can hear about some of those at the very end of the interview I did with Aaron Smith Levin, because it gets really sick. The level of what they wanted from me to leave ethically. That's the funny thing, is that I left Scientology the correct way. I completed a routing form, which is incredibly rare. And people just fucking leave because the routing form is designed to keep you in there. So, and it's very effective. It's like for every step on the rung of the ladder that you go, they kick you down 3. And I was able to make it through somehow the entire program. But what it required me to do was just like write down a whole bunch of criminal activities that I never did. And you'll hear Mike Render say, I would have written that I pitchforked babies into a fucking back of a dump truck, So that's an old, really horrible joke about, what's the easiest way to load a dump truck full of babies with a pitchfork. Anyways, the bad baby joke, the amount, like, there's no limit to what you will say. You go past life, you start talking about blowing up planets, you start talking about building giant slave pens in space, and enslaving entire galaxies and stuff. Like, Like, okay, this one single life form, this one body did this one thing. But it was very coercive. They allowed me to moonlight, and I was working at an internet cafe in the early aughts, and we had to clean these fucking computers every single week because they were being used for not torrents, but peer-to-peer networking, file sharing. So and it's Los Angeles, very well known for a culture of a sick pedophilic culture and a violent culture. You know, there would be snuff videos, snuff porn, child pornography, and all this shit on these computers. And over time, over about 8 months of auditing, which is security checking, my auditor Iris was, I believe, instructed by Kathy Steiner to this was a common thing. If someone was leaving, she'd say, just get the child porn on them and then let them go. So however they could do that, and Iris, you know, used her fit, everything she could in her toolbox to make it okay to write it down, short of writing it down for me. Like at certain points, they were dictating what I needed to write. So yeah.
Funny
You
you
have
should
to
bring up
stop me.
funny you should bring up Iris. No, that's great, man. That leads right into what I wanted to ask you next about. So you covered the domestic violence background a little bit. You know, we don't have to get too deep into that, but I know from talking to you had a pretty rough upbringing. Let's put it that way. And dude, what you said about that cult becoming your second family, I never was physically abused, Marcus, but psychologically, Scientology became my second home. That's why I cover narcissism and psychopathy on the channel, because my family dynamic absolutely mirrored the cult dynamic. And I felt like I could tell Iris and Jim Hammery. These are people, by the way, at the Ventura Mission, which I've talked about on the channel. Marcus talks about on his channel. And like I said, we both went to the Ventura Mission. He was a staff member. He became a staff right after I left the mission and moved to LA. And like I said, gave me a ton of intel on what was going on behind the scenes as to how they squeezed a bunch of money out of my father, etc. What's really weird, Marcus, is my psychologically abusive and manipulative parents were also in Scientology. And yet, so it was a really weird dynamic of I trusted the mission more. That's where they wanted me to go. That's what they believed, and they wanted to pass on their religion. But simultaneously, it distanced the crap out of us because now we had Scientology in the middle of our family, which both my parents trust more than the family unit itself. And then because I wasn't getting what I needed from my family, I didn't know that. It was subconscious. You know, they weren't terrible, but, you know, belittling and, you know, just constantly, my self-esteem was really low. Let's put it that way. So like you said, man, when you have somebody that listens to you and love bombs you, yeah, we're under the same dynamic as we were growing up, bro. But at least we got validated once in a while. You know, you finish a fucking grade and you get to stand up there and you get to attest to your wins, and then you're back down the shitter, right? So it's the same abusive relationship, but I got way more love and way more connection.
Even the certificate, like even if you get shit kicked right after you get that, it's like
it's still
I achieved something.
Exactly. It sounds corny, guys, but it really did mean something. Especially, it really does, man. It's
because
the love
Dad's
bombing
always going to be
that
like,
hooks you.
yeah, it ain't good enough.
Yeah, exactly.
It ain't good enough.
But isn't it a trip, bro, how we could offload more to these strangers than we could to our own fucking family, and that we actually trusted them more, even though they were even more sneakily, psychologically manipulative and abusive at the very end of the road. You know,
Yeah,
we come to find out all these years later.
Comments that Anata PCS or Anata PTS made was that people who are, and I can't find it, but she
said, this one?
No, people who are exposed to adverse childhood experiences or domestic violence are more susceptible to these kinds of things. And I will agree with you on that. But I'll also say, again, to repeat myself, that it does not matter. I could do this to anybody.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, I don't mean to sound like a psychopath, but I will tell you that this is a system that is effective in training people to do exactly what everyone thinks they're not ever going to fall for.
Exactly.
And you know, of course it can happen in any religion, or culture, but because that's how it happens in domestic violence. You get, you get indoctrinated to this. But yeah, make no mistake, that part is true. People who grow up in strict authoritarian families are more susceptible to high control groups. That's true. However, it is not true that even if you didn't grow up say you had a perfect childhood, and there's nothing that you could really want more, and things are going good, you're affluent, you're going up, socially, career wise, I've seen it and done it. And I've seen it with my own eyes. I'm telling you, you don't have to believe me. I'm just telling you that it does not matter what you think you know or what you think you're impervious to, because you're not impervious to it. Nobody is. Just go look at the Ash conformity and Milgram experiments. It's when someone around you has and assumes the correct posture of authority, you will understand that on an instinctual level. It goes all the way back to fucking cavemen days. Just wanted to point that out. And that's
it's good. It's a great thing. Yeah, it's a great comment. And he's obviously not coming on to you and had a, you make a good point, but I'm glad you riffed on that, because that's absolutely true. And you did live it, man. You were responsible for selling to, celebrities, very important people. And you yourself got manipulated into having to. Can you give an example, Marcus? Because I wanted to drive home that point, because that's one of the things that comes up so often.
It's very important. It's a very important point.
It is. And you know why? Because people can easily, and I understand this is our psychology or whatever, we can distance ourselves. We were just talking about this earlier, and before we went live, and he has a video on his channel, which I absolutely love, called The Freak Show. And it was what you were just talking about when we started this conversation about, there's nothing wrong with people watching or whatever, but the subject matter, the seriousness of it. I mean, I almost came close to killing myself, and Marcus had to hang himself literally to get the fuck out. And when it gets diminished to, what would you call it, Marcus? The Freak Show, like lessening it, making jokes. We joke and degrade. We make fun of this shit. There's nothing wrong with humor, but it gets lost in translation. Sometimes
people think they're smarter than other people, is what it
amounts to. But you know what it is, though? It's a psychology thing too, Marcus, where it's if you, like a rape victim or somebody, if you people generally want to distance themselves from that by saying that could never happen to me, rather than take on the idea. We have a smart community here where I'm not talking about everybody. A lot of people have left comments in your videos, Apostates, Alex, mine, everywhere, where they go, oh, I see how that can happen. And it's kind of our job, maybe, or at least it feels like it on my end, to speak from the heart so that people can understand how it possibly could happen to them. Hopefully it won't. And I'm not, wishing that on anybody, but it's this it's like people want to distance themselves from it and not engage or let it impinge upon them, as they would say in Scientology, as if it's something that can only happen to other people. From your staff experience, which we'll get into, can you give an example maybe of somebody that you saw that didn't necessarily grow up in an abusive family, or any kind of example that you want to give to drive home that point? Because I absolutely agree with you.
There was a guy at Ventura Mission who came in off a book line, which is meaning he was sold a book and body routed into the mission, which just means, hey, I sold you the book, but I want to do a personality test if you don't have anything going on. And this guy was a very successful real estate agent. Had from all appearances on the outside, a happy marriage. And he comes in, he does his personality test. They call it the OCA. Monica then finds his ruin, which is something about your life that could be better. Now, for people who have a decent life going, it may be difficult, and that's where the skill lies, and that's where the training comes into play, is to how to find someone's ruin. There may not be everybody walking in the door who's already ruined, and you can't limit your options to just the fucked up people. You have to, take everybody, and that's the goal, is to clear the planet. So Jason was a successful person, and she was able to find a ruin. And over time, and this is a double-edged sword kind of thing, because I'm sure that Jason got some positive things out of Scientology. I feel like we all did, even if it came at the cost that it did. You know, to me, it's comparable to any PTSD type thing where you are exposed continually to abusive stuff or violent stuff or whatever. Like guys coming home from the war, you know, they find the positive. You know, they're in therapy. They're taught to find the positive and how to, and when they can't, to find coping skills to do so. So, what I'm saying here is that the story I'm telling about Jason, in regards to you asking for an example of how someone who of sound mind could fall for this. You know, this is one of those people who would have been like, I'd never fall for that shit. And he was very cantankerous, you know, in the beginning, because he walked in and he saw immediately that this was some kind of sham, you know, or some kind of like facade.
As did you too, right? Which we'll get into. I'm sorry to interrupt,
Yeah.
but you did too, because you have a very interesting story about how they got you. Please continue.
So Jason being an affluent, wealthy real estate agent in Ventura and surrounding areas, was able to immediately buy into auditing. You know, Monica found his ruin. Jim closed him on the session, introduced him to his auditor, Iris. And over the course of 6 months, and this was a guy who was a pretty shrewd, cutthroat guy. That's how he got into the position he was in as a real estate guy. Very, very shrewd, very short, very, at times rude. And, you know, one day I was walking through the lobby and he stopped me and he said, Marcus, I wanted to tell you that I am so sorry for being rude and ugly and snappy towards you. And I'm trying to change some things. I'm not here to have you sign a condition or anything. I just wanted to let you know personally that I am sorry. And that was a mind-blowing moment for me. But that to me illustrates how, because once you get this is the thing. Any guru, their first trick is the best trick they play on you, because from then they tell you that wasn't the real trick. The real trick is something else. And if you had benefited from that first thing, then that's all you had to learn from the guru. And at the end of maybe possibly years of study, you come back to that same point. It's like, yeah, you didn't need it the whole time. It's like OT8. When you get to OT8, you realize I mocked it all up, the whole experience. So it's not new. Gurus have been doing this in India for years and Japan for years. So he's a good example of how someone who is totally impervious to being indoctrinated can get indoctrinated, and the reason being is that it does do something for you. There's a kernel of truth, right? So, and if it happens to hit on, and this is where Monica was instrumental, and other registrars that do this on a regular basis, they have to be very good at what they do, because they have to find that one little point. Even if that person, you know, 99.9% of their life is like exactly where they want it to be, they got to find that 0.01 or 0.1% and make it big enough to make the other 99% irrelevant. And that's a fucking task.
Great point, man. And that's what cults do, Marcus. I wish we were just talking about this last night. They reframe my entire past, how much I'm supposed to hate my family and how horrible it was in auditing. I literally had my memories changed, and any cult does that. There was really nothing too wrong, Marcus, with my life, to be honest with you, but they create problems, get a reaction out of you where you start to think, oh my God, maybe that's right. You start doubting yourself, and then they offer you the solution. They created so many problems and told me that so many things were bad about myself and reframed my reality so much.
Create.
Yeah. Destroy, just create, destroy, whatever the hell it is.
The cycle of creation.
Thank God I'm forgetting these things. And also, as another example, from someone that does come from a definitely physically and psychologically abusive family like you did, you still were not easy to get in. How the fuck did they get you in? You resisted. You knew religion was bullshit, right? What was your hook then? How did they get you?
Well, on the topic of what my religion was, music was my religion, and the universe was my cathedral or
Amen.
sanctuary. And the problem was my vessel, my body. It was, I was hallucinating all the fucking time. It's a condition called HPPD, stands for hallucination perception persisting disorder. It's in the DSM. It's called an orphan disease because it's considered to be self-inflicted. So money isn't appropriated to orphan diseases. Only diseases that are like, come to you via, some other way. But there was literally nothing the doctors could do other than prescribe me benzodiazepines. And I had done so many drugs at that point. And I just didn't want to do drugs anymore. And so I went and enrolled in, I bought a Dianetics book. I was looking for a book by Edward de Bono, who's a great writer, Nobel laureate, called The Happiness Purpose, and which is a great book. It's kind of freaky in the Orwellian way, but I finally read it. It's good. I can recommend it. She didn't have the book at Walden Books, but Walden Books had a contract with apparently Bridge Publications to distribute Dianetics books, and they had the Clear Body, Clear Mind book and some other Bridge Publications books. So she offered, or she found the book that was one of the only mental health self-help books that kind of, and my cousin really did. I told her what was going on, and she really did some research as to like what could be the best book for him, and she had no idea what the fuck Dianetics was really. And so she recommended the book. I bought the book. I read the book. There was a leaflet in there for Clear Body, Clear Mind, and I read book 1 all the way through in one sitting. And because I couldn't sleep because I was just constantly hallucinating, I had to take sleeping pills to go to sleep. And even then, I only slept 2 to 3 hours. So I read it like from book 1 cover to cover. And yeah, I called the number. It said 24 hours. So I was like, fucking A. I talked to a person. They routed me to the Baton Rouge mission to talk to Natasha. And Natasha said, yeah, we'll have a phone call tomorrow. I went in and I told him, look, I'm not interested. She started presenting me with all this paperwork about, she presented that.
Sorry to stimulate you, but here's the book that Marcus is talking about.
No, it's fine. So that was the book and the program that I was, being registered to do. And she put a bunch of paperwork in front of me to sign. And I was like, look, I'm not interested in all your religious shit. Because it said something about, Church of Religious Technology.
So you did know, you did know it was a religion, Marcus, at the beginning, or a little bit in that from that book?
I did not know it was Scientology. I did not know that Scientology and Dianetics were the same thing, that they were related at all.
And they do that on purpose, I'd like to point out.
Yeah.
When my dad went down to the mission, he wasn't told it was Scientology. They sell it as Dianetics because Scientology has such a shitty reputation. Please continue, brother.
Yeah, so I told her I wasn't gonna sign any of that shit, and so she had to have a cycle with her senior to try and figure out how she could get me to sign it. And I mean, that cycle lasted probably 2 hours. My mother was there with me, and basically Natasha got the support of my mother because I was in bad shape. And so I was like, fuck it. Basically, my mom and I and Natasha had come to the conclusion in agreement that the state that I am in, regardless of what the technology or what the solution is, that it's better than my current trajectory, which was likely true at the time because I was considering jumping in front of a fucking Mack truck. If you've ever taken LSD or mescaline or anything like that, or mushrooms, I was in a state of like peak of the drug in my system, even though I had no drugs in my system. This was just my brain doing this. It was like I was peaking on a drug such as those for 6 months straight. And so I was pretty desperate. again, it doesn't mean that if I'm not desperate, she still couldn't have gotten me into some sort of service.
I know that's true because I know what the people you're talking about, the mission and how Scientology works. Yep, that's absolutely true. But that's what I'm saying, though. You even still gave them a lot of resistance. You just wanted to basically handle the drug thing, right, Marcus? You're
That's
not
all I
looking for
wanted to
fucking
fucking
religion.
do. That's all I wanted to
Which
do.
is amazing, by the way, bro, that they got you because you were not a likely candidate, and you told them to go fuck themselves, man. I remember they
Yeah,
walked.
multiple times. Even
Mhm.
they said, well, we need to schedule you for course time just so that we have time. They made up some bullshit excuse, and I
Mhm.
know it was bullshit shit. I'm like, this is for you. That's not. I don't care about all that. I need to do my purif, and I'm going to my hotel.
Right.
And fuck your stats and fuck your thing. And then then slowly I started to see how they were suffering consequences. And then Travis came in about 2 weeks after I did because he had a
Mhm.
drug problem that he was wanting to address. And my mother agreed to pay for the detox. So
Mhm.
here we are in a hotel room about 2 miles from the Dianetics Center. And Travis was less resistant on the coursework stuff. Like, he actually was interested in it. He has an open
Mhm.
mind. He's a very open-minded individual. Um, and he completed the ups and downs course. And and at the hotel, he's like talking about it. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. Never thought about it that way. And so I finally, well, there was a point where the famous thing with Dominic, where he and I basically faced off, and he was willing to take a punch, or
Can you tell
whatever I
that?
was going
Can
to
you
do.
not skip over that and tell that story? Because that's the point I wanted to highlight. Just about
Oh,
how non-joining you really were.
so I was doing the course time for Dominic so that he would have his course hours stat, or whatever the fuck it means. It's a
So he at least
statistic.
pushed you into doing that for
Yeah,
him.
because I like Dominic. He was a
Mhm.
guitarist. He was into the same kind of music. Me and him and Travis are roughly the same age, and I didn't want to see him suffer, because I just didn't want to go, or because I just wanted to go back to the hotel and play my guitar.
Here they are, though,
Um,
Marcus, already playing on your empathy and doing something for somebody else. If you were a narcissist or a dickhead, you most likely wouldn't have done that. It's when you look, I just wanted to say, when you look back, do you see that, man? Do you see how they kind of used your own good qualities against you?
yeah,
Because if
well,
you,
that's
like I said, if you were a dickhead, you would have said, I'm not going to do anything to help Dominic's hours. I'm here to do the pure up. Go fuck yourself. And even though you had that attitude, you were on guard against the religious aspect. You were very, you know, adamant about just wanting to do the pure up, which is so mind blowing about how the hell you got wrapped up so deeply into this thing that when you look back at it, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but can you see, or do you think they were playing on your good qualities to get you to do things?
well, I think that's what all of them do.
Yeah.
I think that's the really latchkey point of the seductive qualities of those types of cultures,
Hmm.
is that it makes you feel good to help somebody.
Yes. And the help button. Remember, they always check the help button, Marcus, to make sure you're not a
Sure.
psychopath. If you're not
Mhm.
willing to help, you cannot be a Scientologist. And Hubbard makes that very clear.
Right.
So you're doing this to help out Dominic, to get him his chorus hours. Innocent enough. How could you possibly fall into it? You're just there to do the pure.
Yeah, and they're telling me all this shit about clearing words, right?
Hmm.
Dominic, anytime I go, or do this, or like,
Hmm.
do this, like, he'd
This
be
is
like,
how
is
it
there
all starts.
is there a word that you didn't understand? And I started to get pissed off. Travis was in the course room. I might be jogging his memory if he's watching,
Hmm.
but I was in the course room. I started to get fucking pissy. I was like,
Hmm.
look, I
Me
don't have
too.
a fucking misunderstood word, okay? Fuck off. Let me finish reading this shit. Stop interrupting me. And I became a disturbance to the course room. And so he's like, oh, you want to come and we can discuss this? It seems like you have an upset. I'd like to talk about it. And so I'm like, yeah, sure. Let's go in your fucking office and talk about it. So we go into his office, which has a window facing the course room. And he kind of drew the blinds a little bit. And he starts asking me, like, what's going on? What's really going on? Uh, And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, you fucking know what's going on. We've talked at this point. I was there for maybe a month. And I was like, you know what's going on. You know what my issue is. I really don't want to be in here. I'm in here just so you can get your fucking statistics. And I don't really give two shits about your religion or your what you're doing in here. I'm here for my own selfish purposes. And
Your brother is in the house, by the way. What's up, Travis?
hey, bro. Yeah, so Dominic at this point, he's like I said, he was around our age, so I was 21, 22, and he wasn't as well trained as he is today, or as he was by the time we got to Melrose. He had a lot of training, so he was kind of scraping at the at all of the Hubbard resources to find, because anytime there's a problem with a person, you just go to Hubbard stuff and you find it's like searching through a needle in a haystack, try to find something that can work on this individual. And he was able. Okay, well, before this happened,
Marcus, I'm sorry to interrupt. Can I ask you one really quick question? Because
Yeah.
you're reminding me of my experience, that misunderstood word thing. So the very first thing that they teach you guys is to never go past a word that you don't understand. If you do, everything's going to become blank in your mind after that, and you're not going to be able to retain the data. Marcus, that blew my mind when I first read that. It's a bold statement, but I believed it right out of the gate. But
Well, me too.
so you believed it, yet you still resisted the fact.
Yeah, because
I did not go past a word. I just leave me alone. Go fuck off. I didn't have the audacity.
They thought they
to say,
had the fucking patent on it. That's why, because they thought they had the fucking patent on it. Like, well, overreach discard. Like, no, I've been checking my words since I was fucking 7, 8 years old, because I read 30 books a month because my family wanted me to read as many books as I could, so I could give them a pizza dinner because of the Book It program for Pizza Hut.
So you knew not to buy totally into this is exactly how it goes, and I must have gone past a word.
Yeah, no, fuck you. I understand this word, concomitant. I understand this word, whatever the fucking word is, but I mean, you just break it down, concomitant, okay? But
you just gave me an MU. I'm gonna have to go to the dictionary here real quick. Stand by, please. I don't know.
You should clear your word. Fuck it.
I don't do that anymore, though.
I believed it before Scientology. Like,
me too.
If I went to a word and I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? I'm reading a book or something.
It's common sense, right, bro?
It's common sense. Because if I go past it, I'm not going to have any context. Like, what if that word means like potato? And it's like, then I'm completely out of context with it.
I'm just surprised, Marcus, that you were able to stand up to him after having read, which they make us read, that MU tech, and not buy into the fact, okay, Dominic, I guess I must have gone past a misunderstood word, because it says here if I yawn or I scratch myself, and you still had enough sense in you to know that that's some bullshit.
Yeah.
God, I wish I knew that back then.
So
because it seems so logical. Yeah.
Dominic was really kind of drowning, trying to find some kind of something, and I'm like, look, you're running out of time with me, bro. Like,
hang on, Marcus, I got one more reference. It's here somewhere.
Yeah, and I'm like, I'm done with this shit. I don't fucking care about any of that. And I stand up, and he stands up, and I'm like, really? And then I start walking towards the door, and he backs up towards the door, and I'm like, are you fucking serious? Because I will fuck you up. And he's like, he looked scared. I could see that his pulse rate was elevated. I was completely calm, except for, well, on the outside, right? And I'm smiling. I'm like, are you fucking sure? Are you sure? Because I'll throw you through that fucking door. And he said, if that's what you think you need to do, then you do it. And I'm like, dude, I'm not fucking joking with you. Like, I will fuck you up. Get out of my way. Let me out. Let me go back to my hotel room and leave me the fuck alone. And that's whenever his little stroke of genius happened, due to I think he had some, you get TR training routines. And I think that sort of kicked in. And then he had a sort of his own cognition based on our conversations and based on our personal relationship that we had developed up to that point. And he started talking about, well, what are you going to do when you leave? You know, all that I'm asking is that you give this a chance. He started talking what seems to be reason, and I am presenting him with extreme aggression, and he's responding with reason. Now, this is something that was up until that point in my life had just rare. Like, I've never seen somebody do that. Usually, if I got pissed off enough, they'd back off, including Ira, my stepdad. You know, so I mean, I say that yes and no, but that's a whole nother story. But Dominic was able to reach me that way, and so whenever he was willing, fully willing, when I realized when I had the idea in my head that he was willing to get his ass whooped in any way, maybe potentially injured or put into the hospital, um, then I realized that I had my own realization that, okay, look, I don't want to hurt this guy. I immediately unclenched inside, and I was like, fine. You're talking, if you're going to talk reason, we can talk reason. But this fucking, you're going to have to chill the fuck out on all this word clearing shit, because I know a lot of words. Like, you could put me, I was a cocky 20-year-old. I'm like, I know more words than all these people in this fucking course room combined. So go ahead, like, but leave me the fuck alone. If you want to check me on words, that's fine. You can do that every 30 minutes or hour or whatever. But don't be coming and tapping on my shoulder saying, because I went, that like I'm fucking not understanding this very basic language that at this point, the very basic courses, it's like written like for children. So like, don't come and insult me with this. I don't understand the fucking word, man.
That's not an accident, by the way, Marcus, that they introduce us with kind of childlike concepts that seem genius. That's part of age regressing you, because you're going to be playing with clay and doing all sorts of reading that Alice in Wonderland. You're going to be doing all sorts of childlike things. It's funny you mentioned that, man, because my experience of Scientology was just what you said. It was so childlike looking back at it, and I couldn't understand why that was. My rationalization, Marcus, was that, wow, this guy really undercut knowledge. He really made things so simple that the average person could understand it. But actually, it's age regressing you, because we did so many things in that chorus room that an outsider would go, "What are these people doing? They look like a bunch of children playing with these clay and acting out. It looks
Yeah.
foolish from the outside, but it's presented sensibly by clear your word and all that."
Mm.
So that, again, man, he's playing on your goodness. If you were just a prick, you would have decked him through and thrown him through the window and got the fuck out of there. But something about it was like, okay, I'll give this guy a chance, right? Was that the turning point for you, man? Was that the
Yeah.
point that kind of...
Yeah, pretty much, because whenever I had completed ups and downs, I realized that that most of my family were suppressives.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And now
Yeah.
you got your new family that just showed you that.
Right.
They're also suppressives, but you don't know that until years later, man. This is so wild, bro, how this happens. You're like a perfect case study of someone who knows they can't fall into a cult, absolutely wants nothing to do with religion, isn't going to take any bullshit about, oh, you're scratching your face, therefore you went past a misunderstood word. But what happened? It was him getting, willing to put his life on the line, basically, or take extreme bodily harm, because I believe you were going to throw him through the fucking window, because he believed in the cause that much, right?
Yeah.
And of course, if he believes in it that much,
And he's a
probably
smart guy.
softened.
Speaking of, like, I'll never fall for that because I'm too smart. That's the
Mhm.
point where it got me. It was like, this guy is really fucking smart. So, like, if he's trying to talk reason to me,
Mhm.
then I'll give it a shot. I'll give it a fucking shot.
That's how it
Because
starts.
not only did he have, he was willing to take the physical thing, but he also, in the face of that, he was able to pull his reason out instead of react. Because I mean, we were literally nose to nose. So like, if that would have been someone coming nose to nose at me, you would,
Mhm.
something would have happened. But he had the self control to not, and he had the ability to pull what I considered reason at the time up.
Mhm.
and that impressed the fucking
Yeah.
shit out of me. I mean,
Yeah.
like, how do you have that amount of control? And
Yep.
part of me wanted that control.
Great fucking point. That was another thing about the Scientologists. They seem to have something special about them. They didn't react the normal way that people did. And they could apparently use reason rather than going to fisticuffs, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I
And
mean,
yet,
very rarely did I see, I mean, of course, there are like physical altercations that will occur that anyone outside of Scientology would say that's not okay. But in our minds, when you get trained, it's like it's just, oh, there's some 8C going on over there.
right. That's control, by the way, for listeners. 8C.
Yeah, 8C stands for, it's an 8, but it's supposed to be on its side, and it stands for infinite control.
Infinity control, right?
Yeah.
8 on its side is infinity. I didn't get that until you mentioned that. That's
Well,
why
yeah, that's the drill. It's the final drill, infinite control.
Oh, right. Which, by the way, is a very scary Orwellian concept when you put it like that.
Absolutely. Yeah. So when someone would be being handled, in other words, there would be situations that some people might think there's a kidnapping going on, but even the fucking public would be like, "Oh, that's just an 8C cycle."
Exactly. So that's another example where there's these shattering things going on at the course room, but somehow you get, just like in an abusive family or relationship, you get trained that that's normal. Oh, they're just doing 8C. Yeah, and sometimes it could get gnarly, man. Didn't you have some ball player or something, some famous ball player that you had to do
Look, we got Lily
8C
Rose
with
saying
and
my
shit?
brain very logical and I operate on facts. This group would not be able to control me at all. Bullshit.
Yeah, that is complete bullshit. By the way, I don't even know how to respond to something like that, because like that's exactly the attitude that would have been me 20 years ago.
I mean, did you not hear any of what we just said?
Well, maybe they didn't. And maybe they're just coming in.
Rewind
And that's
a little bit.
And also that's a common statement. I understand why people say that. I absolutely disagree with that, not just because I got caught in a cult myself, but because it's just a very, very foolish statement. You know why that is, whoever said that? Because we all have vulnerabilities. You're not special. You're not a special human being that walks through this earth with no vulnerabilities. Now, Scientology and L. Ron Hubbard are fucking experts at training people like Marcus, which we're going to get into in the second interview. We've already been going. I knew this is going to be fascinating, dude. We've already been going for an hour, and
I already covered but you can be 99.9% okay, but the people that are working on you with a sincere effort.
Sincere effort. Exactly. They're not manipulating you. They believe in what they're talking about. And like I said, we all have vulnerabilities. Now, also a part of that is catching somebody at the right place at the right time. So unless you're Buddha reincarnate, you have all memories of all your past lives. You walk around beaming, you're invulnerable, and you've handled all your past life trauma, as they say in Scientology. You are everybody's fucking vulnerable, is my point. It's an arrogant, you know what? It used to really piss me off too, Marcus, but I'm not going to, I don't know who this person is. And I'm not going to come.
Yeah,
I've heard this so many times.
The same fucking thing. Like,
do me and Marcus seem like we're dumbasses to you? Why don't you go watch some of his videos and tell me if you think he's an unintelligent dumbass? I don't
call people out, but today I'm in a mood where it's like, you know what?
Hey man, let it hang out. I feel you, because like I said, I've already gotten over being pissed off about that, because people drop it in the comments all the time, and it's totally okay. They can say whatever they want. Marcus, it's not being mad anymore about that. It's feeling like they're probably already in like they don't know what they don't know yet. They're probably already in one. I've had people that are Christians or follow a particular political leader or follow some other obvious con say, I would never. These are the Scientology watchers, man. The people that watch Scientology and distance themselves from it and go, that would never happen to me. As soon as somebody says that, I'm quite certain that. See, you know why I wouldn't say that, Marcus, and why I'm thankful for the Scientology experience? Why the one thing that I'm thankful most out of this experience is I would have said that. And if I didn't personally experience on a very deep level how that was actually possible, I would never believe it. So also, there's, sometimes it takes experiencing something to appreciate it. Because, when I was reading about Nazi Germany in high school, I was distanced from it too. It was a story. It was something I couldn't relate to. Why would these people, what do you mean you were just following your job? I would never fall for that. Can't you see you're being manipulated?
Right.
Can't you
I was
see
just
it? No, you
gassing
can't
those people
see
because they told me to.
Yeah, and when I was growing up, that made no sense to me. I was like, of course, I'd never do that. What a bunch of idiots. But it's a very different experience when you experience it yourself and appreciate just how invulnerable and we all actually are. And it's a humbling
Vulnerable,
experience too, because I would,
not
yeah, thank you.
invulnerable.
Stop correcting me. Like, we're not back in Scientology. I didn't go past an MU and I didn't stumble across that. But my point is, it's like, it really taught me about, and it humbled the shit out of me, Marcus, because I would never say that to somebody else. I would never look at another Christian, for example, and say, "Oh, what an idiot for, because they believe that."
Yeah, you
I
believe
would
in
never be able
in
to.
Sky Daddy. I
Yeah.
mean, it's funny because there's some really prominent like research and science going into like the power of belief and how it's actually beneficial on a very practical level. And you don't have to believe in Sky Daddy or whatever.
Mhm.
You believe whatever the fuck you want, but if you have belief, you're less susceptible to illness and weird shit like that. Like uh check out The Anatomy of Anxiety. It's a great book.
Oh,
And
that's on my reading
published
list. You
in
pointed that out.
2022. It's a very recent book, very recent studies. So like, you can argue with that. Not
What
going to
about
have much ground to stand on, but
isn't
belief actually helps. So
definitely.
believing in something doesn't matter what it is. You can believe in the spaghetti monster or whatever that religion is.
And plus, we have to believe in something. You have people that believe, just in science, and that's. I don't want to get in bad with the atheist community, but because I've gotten in too many arguments with those people. But they say I don't have a belief in anything. I
I
believe in
love atheists.
science. I'm not going to go there.
But
But
I
how
had a
about
few churches, which is hilarious that they have a church. I'm like, oh,
an
you want me to
atheist
come speak at your
church?
thing? Yeah,
What are
yeah,
you
yeah.
talking about?
I got
Really?
invited to go speak at in Lake Charles of all places,
No shit.
the atheist church. And I was like, the irony isn't lost on you, right? And he's like, no. I'm like, okay, cool.
Marcus, can you clarify real quick for Scott? What was the comment that we were kind of getting?
Well, the comment is a repeating theme throughout many ex Scientologists and ex Mormons and ex whatevers that the people who are the victims couldn't possibly have a brain bigger
Right.
than the size of a pea.
Exactly.
All right, I'm exaggerating, but that's the general idea and tone of what the comments are.
Right.
And someone had made a comment that I'm very logical and I would never fall for such a thing. I operate purely on facts and blah, 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 blah,
Right.
blah, 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 blah. It's nonsense.
It is nonsense. But I wish those people I don't know what to say, man. Like
Mimi
I said,
says it right there. We're
Mimi.
all susceptible to psychological programming and manipulation. That's absolutely what.
Now,
That's all I'm
Mimi,
saying.
now somebody like Mimi, I would be curious as to how she knows that, because half of the people in the comment section I noticed do understand how that can happen to them, even though it hasn't, and they can put, they can see how that works. And then there's the other people, the cocky, arrogant. It's just nonsensical. Like I said, I can't even take that comment seriously. I'd never fall for that because, like I said, I was that guy. I'm the last person in the world that's going to join a group. Marcus, I'm the ultimate nonconformist, seriously. And, it's not, as we talked about earlier, just because you have a psychologically and or physically abusive background. Mine actually wasn't too bad. People that listen to me know I don't hate my parents and I had a pretty decent upbringing, all in all. So there's many factors that go into it. We're all susceptible. And Scientology, like any predator, is train. By the way, using government mind control techniques, using every psychology book using the hard sale pack, which Marcus was an expert at, which is by Les Danes. It teaches how to sell ice to an
And
Eskimo.
Dale Carnegie.
When you have tools, when you have an assortment of tools, and Dale Carnegie, which Manson also used.
I mean, that's two major big time, like, changed the whole landscape of sales and our American society.
We curse as much as we want here, so fuck off if you don't like it. Please continue. We're both in a haughty mood today. Apologies, but yeah, I mean, if you can't handle the cursing, I don't think neither of us were. We're getting trolled. Goldie, get on that. No, nobody gets blocked unless they're a complete penis.
Do we want a break for dinner and come back, or do we want to continue?
Guys, this is what we thought. It's up to you. We've already, I knew this was time was going to fly. So we've been going for an hour. We don't want to do like, these massively long videos. We're more than willing to come back in a couple hours later tonight if you want to pick up this conversation. And what it's already been massively fascinating, but we could jump off from, Marcus, is let's get into, I don't want you to have to relive it and repeat it because we already covered it in the old videos, but I would love people to hear your story about. So we laid down the foundation. So how the fuck
Well, got in
did
and then to
you
get
fall
out.
into it?
So, right.
Yeah, and he hasn't even started the story. It's mind-bending. And what I love about, not love, that's the wrong word, but what I find fascinating is I know you. I've gotten to know you over the years. You're kind of a kindred spirit, man. I fucking love you, dude. You're a
I love you too.
nonconformist. You're an intelligent man. And yet, just to
They
see
can't
how it
see-
is to happen.
They don't know that we talk on a fairly regular basis about very personal things, and that we actually do love each other like brothers. So
I very much appreciate you saying that, dude. You have been a godsend.
You're like
in
a
my
brother
life.
to me. You're my family.
Thank you, man. Vice
I love
versa.
you very much.
I love you too, man. And since I don't have, I lost my pops recently, man, and I really appreciate you and Alex being there for me. And it's been a weird experience because I've never had anybody to talk to when I've had loss in the past. So you're the first guy that I called, man. I really appreciate that. The X community in general, and especially, Marcus and apostate Alex. So guys, we'll fuck it, we'll come back.
There's some people that came in late I was watching, and so like maybe we can take a little break and
there I just dropped the F word. That was too much. I
we could take a break. They could catch up on if there's a instant replay or whatever. If it I don't think it takes too long
I don't think it'll post right away, Marcus, but how
Okay.
about this, guys? I just want to talk to you, man. So if people come,
Sure.
if you want to come back, guys, you're welcome to. If
we'll
not,
come
me
back.
and Marcus will be talking by ourselves, but we're going to talk about how he actually, his story about Scientology, and we'll do another hour or so. And then if you don't mind, Marcus, I'd like to have you back in a couple weeks, probably because we have to end on a positive note about breaking down some of the things that help you get out of that. And can you lead us out with Going Clear?
You want to play Glowing Clear again?
Glowing Clear, guys. This song describes perfectly in feelings and music what the Scientology experience is like. If you don't mind, I don't want to put you
I
on the
just have to
spot,
adjust a few things. Hold on.
Okay, cool, Juliana. We'll see you then. Probably a couple hours, guys. Like right now, it's 3 as Marcus is setting up. It's 3:12.
Like an hour and a half, something like that. Just enough to. I got to stretch my legs. I got to maybe nibble on something. Go to the restroom, all that.
I don't want to know what you're going to go nibble on. So it's 3:12, guys. We'll come back in 2 hours. Around a little after 5, and I'll post a link on the channel.
And desperate, degraded, ego inflated mind, looking for something to eat up your money and time. Well, maybe you can keep your head up without your spine. Make a decision and we'll give you some pockets to mine. And I can't say what keeps us here. And I won't say what keeps us here. No, we won't say what keeps us here. Well, what do I believe? Well, what am I supposed to believe? Nothing but time. Nothing comes to my mind. And one day, someday, it'll all be clear. Well, being together is better than saying goodbye. Just look at all the people walking around outside. I'm no good to you if I can't see with my own 2 eyes. Walking in circles, blind leading the blind. And I can't say what keeps us here. And I won't say why I'm still here. No, I can't say why we're still here. What do I believe? What am I supposed to believe? Nothing but time. But nothing comes to my mind. And one day, and someday, it'll all be clear. What is true? What's true for you? And what is real? Did you forget how to feel? You need to eat, well, beg, borrow, and steal. Well, none of it matters. Your life is in tatters. You're bled like a pig and reality shattered. And I can't say what keeps us here. No, I won't say why I'm still here. And I just can't say what keeps me here. What do I believe? What am I supposed to believe? Nothing but time. And nothing comes to mind. But one day, someday, it'll all be clear.